The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. It's Sunday, the 21st of June, 2026, and it's Father's Day, Mary. So happy Father's Day
Happy Father's Day.
Dads out there and people that act like dads and all those people that are carers. So thank you to you all for your work and happy Father's Day. First article, Mary, from Henrik Cowliston in The Defender. CDC awards Pfizer $1.24 billion for COVID vaccines for kids and adults. The roughly $735 million pediatric and $505 million adult COVID-19 vaccine grants cover 2026 and 2027, according to the federal records. The monetary infusion has revived debate among critics and public health experts around the safety and efficacy of the vaccines and reliance on mRNA technology. Everybody wants to know why, Mary. Why?
I have no good explanation. The only thing that's positive here, Polly, that Henrik covers in the article is that Dr. Robert Malone, who had previously been on the ACIP committee, said, anything that goes through the Vaccines for Children program, i.e. the $735 million going for pediatric COVID shots, has to be approved by the ACIP committee. And the ACIP committee has been suspended because of the American Academy of Pediatrics lawsuit. So I think he's got a very good point that this is probably illegal. And this may be, in fact, pulled and stopped, which I pray for. It is outrageous with all of the evidence of deaths and injuries and no effectiveness, no stopping transmission, and no market uptake of this shot. It is outrageous that this is moving forward. But as the article also points out, Polly, pharma and their friends so heavily invested in mRNA that they're not turning back anytime soon. There are 550 clinical trials going on right now with mRNA technology, 90% of which are for quote unquote vaccines, no doubt, because of the liability protection. So we have our work cut out for us, Polly. This is not over.
No, it's not. Absolutely. Michael Neverdarkers here. US-funded biolabs in 30 plus countries, many experimented with highly contagious pathogens. According to declassified documents released last week by outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, many are currently or have previously engaged in research using these hazardous and highly contagious pathogens. This is according to a statement. About a third are located in Ukraine and are vulnerable to long-standing threats of Russian attack, seizure, or damage, says the article.
So this isn't new news. As Sasha Latipova says here, this has been public since 2005, but it's never been given to the American public from the Director of National Intelligence. 120 of these labs in Ukraine, Polly, like what were people thinking? And this is just, there's a major war going on in Ukraine right now. This is horrible. But Richard Ebright, professor, very critical of gain of function work at Rutgers, says that these labs are also in Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, frankly, all of the former republics of the Soviet Union. It's the scope of this program is extraordinary, Polly. Like, we have got to stop this gain of function craziness. None of these are BSL-4 labs. They're not high security. They're like Wuhan. They're like BSL-2 security. And they have leaks. They don't have the security that they should have to be doing this. I think we're learning the truth, and now it's really up to all of us to act on it and to stop this insanity.
Brenda Belletti here. BMJ probe into excess mortality study drags on for 2 years with no resolution. A study published in the BMJ Public Health in May 2024 found that excess mortality rates remained elevated in 43 of 47 Western countries throughout 2022. After critics called for a retraction, the journal issued an expression of concern, and 2 years later, the editors still have not removed the warning and haven't released any details about the investigation into the study.
So, Polly, this is a part of a bigger issue that we're really dealing with right now, where corporate forces are trying to use the lever of retracting good science to support the narrative that, the COVID shots were great and, unvaccinated people are just the same as vaccinated people. There's a huge effort to use retraction now. I don't think there should ever be retraction, Polly. If you don't like an article, then you write the counter article. You should never be able to retract something. Okay, if you think it was fraudulent, then explain. The thing that's worse, the worst thing about what's happening is these journals just cave to corporate pressure and they don't even give a reason. And here it is. So the journal, kind of like a mea culpa, was like, oh, well, we're concerned about this. And then they do nothing. They're appeasing their corporate overlords. They're not giving any reasons. They're not saying if it's a good article or a bad article. It's a big issue right now. There's a huge effort to take down articles about sudden infant death syndrome and to retract articles comparing vaccinated and unvaccinated outcomes. And we and others are fighting back hard on that because it's outrageous.
Henrique, again in the Defender, federal COVID vaccine injury program pays for another death, but denials still hover above 98%. The Health Resources and Services Administration, as of June, has compensated just 60 of 7,407 claims via the federal government's countermeasures injury compensation program, while denying 7,298. The latest report shows only the third death claim paid out since the start of the pandemic.
Polly, I hate to say it, but when you look up kangaroo court in the dictionary, you see the countermeasures injury compensation program. This is not a court. This is a fraud. This is truly a window dressing. 98% denial rate. They've only adjudicated half of the claims they have. Most people have never even heard of it. You have to file within 1 year. And this is all happening while the CDC just gave over $1 billion to Pfizer for more COVID shots. The work is so not done. It's awful. Really, that is just awful.
Jill Erzin here. It's a watch. It's the lockdown dissidents. So Wall Street Journal video spotlights COVID censorship and its lasting impact. In a new Wall Street Journal opinion film, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya reflects on his journey from lockdown dissident to the head of the agency, whose former director called for a devastating takedown of his work. The documentary examines how government officials, media outlets, and social media platforms targeted scientists who challenged prevailing COVID-19 policies.
Well, they're only 6 years too late, Polly, to make a difference. And what's shocking in this context is that Senator Ron Johnson just published an op-ed on X because the Wall Street Journal, among many other publications, would not run it. None of them would have him on. None of them would publish his paper. So, kudos a little bit to the Wall Street Journal for doing something, but they're not doing anything that moves the needle now. That's all kind of looking at past battles, frankly. Yeah, Jay Bhattacharya is already the head of NIH. You don't have to laud him. That change has already been made. So I guess better late than never, but not a lot better.
Yeah, okay, Michael Neverdakis here. Headline, Smoking Gun. Document suggests Fauci knew COVID was created in Wuhan lab and mRNA vaccines wouldn't work. In 2021, Dr. Anthony Fauci received a US intelligence report suggesting the COVID-19 virus was developed in Chinese and US labs as a bat vaccine, that it's leaked from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology, and that it contained characteristics that would make it resistant to mRNA vaccines. Senator Ron Paul released the report printed on DARPA letterhead.
So I think we knew this information, Polly. We know that Tony Fauci knew. We know that NIAID and the Department of Defense and others from the U.S. had been funding research and Bat Lady at the Wuhan lab. What's different here is that this is Senator Rand Paul who put out this DARPA declassified document from August 2021 saying that the DARPA, and it was a Marine fellow, knew in August 2021, and they had given this to Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was clearly working with the intelligence agencies, and he was intentionally misdirecting the narrative. The interesting thing in this article, Polly, is that Dr. Fauci is going to be testifying before the Senate. before Senator Rand Paul. And so there's speculation in this article, how will he do it? His pardon is retroactive. It won't cover new perjury. And so nobody really thinks that Dr. Fauci is going to try to come clean. And nobody really thinks that he's going to answer questions where he might be responsible for perjury. So the likelihood is we're going to see him answer a couple hundred times. I don't recall. I don't recall. I don't recall. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Memory issues. Okay. Suzanne Burdick, clinical trial doctor, published studies showing COVID treatments worked. Pharma investors got the studies retracted. This is Dr. Sabine Hazan, and she detailed her harrowing experience of being attacked as a scientist for publishing research that showed that early treatments of COVID-19 worked. The American people deserve transparent, rigorous science, Hazan said. Quite right.
Yes, she's an amazing scientist. She's absolutely been a hero through all of this. So she'd published 4 papers, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, D, and zinc, and her papers were retracted. So this goes back to what we just spoke about a moment ago, that corporate forces just brazenly go to these journals that are in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, and they say, retract these. And it has nothing to do with the quality of the science. It has everything to do with interfering with the corporate/government narrative.
All right, same with COVID. This next article I pulled from England in the Telegraph, and it really just goes to show, number one, the Telegraph was one of the main media outlets telling us that the COVID shot was safe and effective and we should get it, otherwise we're going to kill Granny. Their headline the other day is COVID jab victim killed himself after being denied compensation. It's the retired pharmacist had been told he was not disabled enough for government payout. And the carnage continues. You know, this is the main thing of this. It's like we may be years after the COVID era, but people are still dying or feeling
Absolutely.
that they kill themselves.
Yeah, no, it's awful, Polly. I just, on Thursday, I interviewed Senator Ron Johnson about his op-ed that was censored by all the mainstream media. And he pointed out that early on in COVID, there were a lot of suicides, especially when Facebook deplatformed React 19 and all of the Facebook groups that were giving one another mutual support. But the suicides are going back up again. They still don't even have an ICD code. They still don't have instructions to doctors for how to take care of people with COVID vaccine injury. There's still this media blackout about what really happened, and it's got to change.
So many people living in so much pain following those shots. Michael Nevadakis, AI-designed universal coronavirus vaccine raises DNA contamination fears. Well, this is a surprise, Mary. The developers of a universal coronavirus vaccine designed by AI are promoting it as a solution to future pandemics. But critics question whether a single vaccine can protect against an entire family of rapidly evolving viruses. They also warn that the vaccine comes with risk of DNA contamination and likely other known risks. Well, we do know what mRNA vaccines can do, and it's not good.
I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me? So this was a study by a Gates-funded organization in Cambridge University on 39 healthy volunteers aged 18 to 50 to use a universal COVID vaccine designed by AI. And already, Polly, they detected 4 adverse events per participant. So, like, why would we think something good is going to come out of this? And as several people in the article comment, including Carl Yablonowski at CHE, you know, we cannot trust the FDA. Nobody should, especially when they read Senator Johnson's report that came out April 29, no one should be taking anything on faith from the FDA at this point. Nothing. And it's changed somewhat, Polly. Sadly, it has not changed completely. We cannot take things on faith from the experts. I think if we haven't learned that through COVID, we better really go back and look at what happened, because we cannot trust experts. We have to do our own homework, unfortunately.
Brenda Belletti, new NIH policy creates financial burden for scientists and windfall for big publishers. This is Johns Hopkins epidemiologist Elizabeth Selvin, PhD, said that in 2025, her group published an NIH-funded clinical trial in Nature Medicine without paying publication fees. But in 2026, after a new NIH policy took effect, the team paid $12,850 in open access charges to publish another NIH-funded study in the same journal. Critics of the new policy say it makes money for big publishers while making it more difficult for scientists to publish their research.
So, Polly, what the article explains, what this scientist explains, is that in the past, when you publish something in a PubMed journal, the journal would keep it just for its subscribers for 6 to 12 months. So they would put it in the journal for free. The journal would keep it closed to their subscribers for 6 to 12 months, and then it's open to the public. So Kennedy, as HHS secretary, said, no, I want there to be radical transparency. I want everybody to be able to see what's on PubMed immediately. What do the journals do? They pass on the alleged cost, probably adding some charges along the way, to the scientists. So instead of her publishing it for nothing, and then the public has to wait a year, she has to pay $12,000 now to get it published. Now, the good side is that it is open to the public, but this is kind of the law of unintended consequences, right? Kennedy wants the public to be able to know what's in PubMed. That's really important, especially around things like COVID. But at the same time, what do the journals do? They just pass on the cost, probably with some additional factor, to the public, to the scientists who publish for the public. So not good.
Right, let's go to the Independent, back to the British media. The headline here, cervical cancer deaths in young women fell to 0 for the first time after the vaccine introduced the HPV jab. It's already saved about they say 200 lives in England. I mean, that's just a terrible headline. In fact, it's not just in that paper, it's in quite a few papers. But I do feel like they should watch Sacrificial Virgins, that film about, or read your book, HPV on Trial.
You know, maybe Polly, Joan Shenton, our beloved filmmaker, did the film Sacrificial Virgins about the Gardasil and the HPV vaccines. And maybe we should put that as our next film next month, because there's a huge marketing push right now on HPV vaccines globally. And the proof that they put forward is bogus. And we're doing scientific research on this now. But the truth of the matter is the HPV vaccines are very dangerous. They've caused hundreds, thousands of deaths around the world. They've caused severe injuries. And they do not prevent cervical cancer. So
just absolutely horrific headline. It's going to make people go out because they don't know any better and go and get this ghastly shot. Can't tell you how many HPV Gardasil deaths and stories we did on the bus, and little Isabella, who was just 10 years old.
I know.
And and she died following the HPV Gardasil. So please, these headlines are just, they should not be allowed to put a headline like that out, Mary.
You're right, Polly. You're right.
I mean, can you imagine if we put a headline out that was as big a lie as that in the Defender? They'd come after us so fast.
Well, Polly, it was Hitler's people who said only big lies work. Little lies people can relate to and they can sort of understand that it's a lie. Big lies, people can't imagine that anybody would lie about life and death issues like this. This is like Senator Johnson's report. Who could believe that the head of the FDA's biologic department would know that COVID shots kill people? It causes heart attacks. He knew that 4 months after they came out, and he suppressed that information because it might cause vaccine hesitancy. Normal people can't imagine that. These are monsters, Polly. These are monsters. Whether they acknowledge it or recognize it, it doesn't matter. Anybody who knows that they are doing something or not doing something that is killing other people, it's shocking.
Shocking. Well, staying with Gardasil, Merck ignored Gardasil safety warnings from its own trial investigator, court doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we know, there was a settlement between the plaintiffs in this case against Merck for Gardasil and Merck, and Children's Health Defense was supporting many of the plaintiffs towards a resolution. So there's a settlement, but many of the reports of the experts were made public, including this one by Dr. Jesper Mielsen. Dr. Mielsen is a Danish doctor who was actually a doctor in the clinical trials. He brought problems to the attention of Merck and the European Medicines Agency. They did nothing. He was an honest doctor and he understood the problem. So he then became the head of 5 clinics all around Denmark for women who were injured by the by the Gardasil shots, and he recognized that it was causing POTS, like where you can't stand up, your heart tachycardia, and that it was causing chronic fatigue syndrome. And so the good news on the litigation for the public is that some of these documents are coming out, and our fantastic reporter Brenda Belletti is going through them and putting this out for us. The bad news is that this vaccine is still being distributed around the world from my personal perspective.
Mine too. Okay, this is US Right to Know in the Defender. Women with multiple sclerosis had higher PFA levels in their blood. So these women with these higher blood levels and substances known as PFAs or forever chemicals may be up to 60% more likely to have multiple sclerosis, according to a new study. PFAs are used in non-stick cookware, food packaging, stain-resistant fabrics, and nearly all Americans are exposed to contaminated drinking water. So we're all exposed. I mean, food packaging, I mean, plastic.
It's in the plastic. So there's a very good film, Polly, that came out a few years ago called Dark Waters. With a famous cast, and it's about the whole PFAS story. And again, like DuPont was making it, and the cattle were being killed, and there was tremendous corporate silence. And PFAS are forever chemicals, and it is actually throughout the country. Everybody is on some level exposed. But this is very important information that people who have high levels of PFAS are more at risk of very debilitating diseases. This article doesn't say how one might get rid of PFAS from one's blood, but at least it would open if I had an MS diagnosis, I would be looking to find out how could I potentially reduce this in my blood. And I'll bet there must be ways that people are looking at.
Yeah, well, this next one is beware chocolate lovers. Your next chocolate bar could come from a lab. Will it be safely tested? Startup companies developing cocoa ingredients from plant cells grown in tanks say the technology could be available commercially by the end of 2026. Critics counter that consumers are being asked to trust products with no long-term history of human consumption and no multi-generation safety data. The devil will be in the details, and so far we don't have them, says Dr. Meryl Nass. Oh, that's so gross.
Polly, I think we have to buy organic because that way we know it's non-GMO, but basically it's not going to be labeled. And big brands like Cadbury, Toblerone for chocolate are going to be having GMO chocolate, GMO cocoa. It is frankenfood, and there's no market demand, which is why they're going to hide it from us. And apparently one of the big companies making these kinds of foods, California Cultured, says, oh, no, this is all incorporated under generally recognized as safe grass. It's really bad. And they talk about how contamination in these GMO foods is a huge issue. Think about it. You're basically preserving a food-like substance for probably weeks, months. I can imagine there's bacterial, fungal, viral infection in these contamination in these vats of food-like substance. It's bizarre, Polly. It truly is just bizarre. I guess the whole incentive for corporations is it's cheaper, right? You don't have to go grow it. You don't have to deal with the farmers. You just put it in a test tube. It's in your laboratory. Obviously that's the attraction. It's cheaper. It's faster. We can't fall for it.
No, and actually, if you do eat those kind of chocolate bars, look on the back. It does say on most of them, made with bioengineered ingredients. So
okay. Interesting.
On those, but those are like, hopefully our viewers are not eating those kinds of chocolates.
No.
Okay, Dr. Joseph McCullough, what happens when silver dental fillings release mercury vapor? Dental silver fillings are made with roughly 50% of mercury. Mercury vapor released from fillings travels through the bloodstream, crosses through the brain and placenta, and accumulates inside tissues over time, even when blood tests appear relatively normal. Yeah. Got to get rid of those silver fillings.
Yeah, so actually the article links to a way to take action to write to the federal government to say, get rid of amalgam fillings, which I just did because I really do think that they are ridiculously dangerous, causing mercury poisoning, and you can get composite that does the same job less expensively without the risk. So why would we still have something on the market that's not properly warned about? There's no label that says, hey, it can cause you severe health problems down the road, which is absolutely true. So there are ways that people can go get their silver fillings removed, and I think it's definitely worthwhile.
Right, well, Duty to Disobey, we're in the final stretch now for 30th of June, theatres all over the country. We still have tickets available, so please do go and get your tickets now. It's time to get your tickets. And if you can, I just bought one for my chiropractor as a gift for him because, yeah, so it was a nice gift. So maybe you could do the same thing. If you've already bought a ticket, buy one for your neighbour or your friend or your pastor or your chiropractor or whoever it is that you think should see it. It's a great film. It's easy to watch. It's not that long either. It runs about an hour and 17 minutes. So shorter than a normal film. But what we thought we'd do now, we're going to end this show, but we're going to end it on a clip of Senator Ron Johnson, who is this clip is of him. He's just watched Duty to Disobey. So you're going to go and see what he says about the film. But for Mary and I, we'll see you next week. I'll see you tomorrow on CHD TV. Pray big, stand firm, never settle. And here's Senator Ron Johnson.
Thanks, Polly. Bye, everybody.
Okay, we just came from the premiere of Duty to Disobey. It's an excellent movie. I recommend everybody watch it. Hopefully people have the same reaction as I had, as reinstating these military members is just the bare minimum of what we need to do. These are the finest among us. The injustice caused by the response to the pandemic is large. There are so many injustices, so many wrongs that need to be righted. So this is certainly one of them. We need to support our military members, but this administration has to step up the plate and do so much more.
So, Leslie, your organization started a petition. Landmark petition filed, federal accountability and concrete action sought for what is really happening in our skies. You were instrumental in this legal action. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So if you want to sue the federal government, then under the Administrative Procedure Act, you are required first to submit what's called a citizen petition to the agency that you are engaging. Okay? So our petition is an official legal document called a citizen petition, which we submitted to the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. And our petition, so it's very, very specific. It's a legal requirement to engage the agency, tell them what we want them to do, why we want them to do it, and what legal justification there is for it. And then after 6 months, that's the legal requirement. If the agency hasn't responded to us, then and only then may we sue them. Okay, you are not permitted to sue. In fact, judges are instructed, courts are instructed to throw out any case relating to federal agencies if the litigant, the plaintiff, has not followed the Administrative Procedure Act by submitting a citizen petition. So this is the prerequisite for legal action after 6 months. So that's one thing that's really important to understand. Neither agency has responded to us. They haven't given us a docket number or anything like this yet. It's outrageous. So we are pushing on them to give us these things, and then we can get members of the public to submit comments in support of our petition. So what we have argued in our petition, which is so important, is that we already have the legal authority under the Clean Air Act to, or that Congress has already implemented or passed the legal authority to require the EPA and the FAA to regulate emissions from aircraft and the fuel inputs.
The air in cities and towns across the country contained sulfur dioxide, smog-forming exhaust gas, heavy metals like mercury and arsenic, carbon monoxide, and more. Air pollution is a killer. Back then, it was hard to convince people that dirty air was bad for you. Air pollution was even considered a symbol of prosperity because it meant your city was thriving economically. The Clean Air Act, as we know it, was passed in 1970 under a Republican president with strong bipartisan support, and even strengthened in 1990 under a Republican president. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, was created to protect human health and the environment. This changed everything.
They have used the Clean Air Act as a justification for regulating all these other industries, boating, automobiles, trucking, everything. but they have completely ignored commercial aviation, which is very peculiar. And there's nothing in the Clean Air Act that says that you are required to ensure the public health and welfare, except as relates to commercial aviation, right? It says you are bound by this law, by the Clean Air Act, to ensure public health and welfare. And they're not doing it. And so what our petition is saying is that you have the legal authority under the Clean Air Act, and you must act. You must issue an endangerment filing and then do something about it, or finding and then do something about it. And so we provide all the science that explains what's happening, that the federal agencies, EPA has actually talked about persistent aviation-induced cloudiness itself. It's actually talked about these things.
Why do airplanes make these lines?
Why do they show behind planes only sometimes?
I don't understand.
Are those lines harmful?
Every day, millions of people look up and wonder the same thing. What are those lines in the sky? They're called contrails, short for condensation trails. They form when hot engine exhaust hits pockets of moisture in extra cold air. That sudden freeze turns water vapor into tiny ice crystals, just like you see when you breathe on a cold day. If you can see that 98-degree breath in 30-degree air, just imagine what happens when engine exhaust over 600 degrees hits a pocket of moisture in the negative 70-degree upper atmosphere. Even a simple cup of water can create them. Contrails can form year-round, often melting and disappearing in a matter of seconds. But when the air is cold and extra humid, they can persist hours after the plane has flown by. While they often appear as straight white lines, they can also form circular shapes from turning planes, and could appear to change color as the sun moves across the sky, altering how light refracts and reaches our eyes. Here at the FAA, we do research every day to understand this atmospheric phenomenon in our skies.
And yet they're failing to act on it. And so basically we've given them all the science, the legal justification, and then we've asked the agencies to follow up by issuing an endangerment finding. And then if they don't do it, then we will sue them in 6 months.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Brandon Nail.
And you took 2 COVID Pfizer shots?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, what made you take them?
My work, foremost. I work for a mega company, and they was one of the first ones to do mandates, vaccination mandates. We tried to wait as long as we could before we got them, but it looked like they was pretty set in stone, making us get them up against termination. So it was either get it or you're fired, with no exit package or anything like that, because of the termination reason that they could get you on. There's no package, no money, no, you don't get any of your pension, none of that stuff. So a lot of us broke down and got it. Of course, long, down the road a little bit, but the following, coming into the next year, that year, that was in 21. So coming into 2022, the email we got when we got back to work was, psych, if you didn't get it, you don't have to get it, but you need to. And then if you did get it, great, you don't have to wear the mask no more. If you didn't get it, you still have to wear the masks, and then you also have to drive in the back. You cannot be in a vehicle and sitting next to somebody. You have to be by yourself, either in the back seat or by yourself in the vehicle. It's crazy. It was, we wasn't allowed in the buildings, or I say I was vaccinated, but if you didn't, you weren't allowed in the buildings. I don't know, it's crazy. It got really weird.
Are you going to tell me what company you work for? What kind of thing it did? You don't have to say the name.
Communications.
Okay. All right, so you took the first one.
Yes, ma'am. The 6th of April, 2021.
And how did you feel after the first one?
After the first one, it was, it felt like what people would always describe that they would feel like after they got the flu shot. because I never got the flu shot either. There was a little bit of pain in the injection site, little fever. One thing that was really uncomfortable, my whole body was burning like it was just on fire. But again, it all, lined up with what I've heard all my life from people that either had the flu or, took the vaccine and, was sick for a couple of days after that. But it cleared up after about 4 or 5 days. Everything was fine. That's why I got the second one. I never thought anything about it.
So what happened after the second one?
Nothing after the second one. Immediately, anyway, after the second one, I didn't get any pain at the injection site. No fevers. No anything. It was. It was kind of like I didn't even get a shot until the morning when I woke up. My symptoms had started. The symptom onset morning. Point of no return, I guess.
So you had it, and the next morning you had symptoms.
No, not the next morning. It wasn't until that. So first vax was the 6th of April. The 27th of April was the second one. It wasn't until the morning of June 4th I woke up, and I just woke up to a crick in my neck. Just, I'm sure everybody's experienced that. Y'all know what that feels like, and that's exactly what it felt like. That was about 7 o'clock in the morning that morning. That was a Friday. We was in Panama City or Gulf Shore somewhere. We was big family vacation. My brother and sister and his kids and her kids and my wife's sister, her kid. Just big family, vacation. It was the day we was leaving. Woke up, it was about 7, 8 o'clock. I just pushed through for about 2 hours with that crick in my neck, just trying to work it out. We stopped by the time we got to Lambert's on the way out. So I guess it was Gulf Shores because we stopped at Lambert's. I couldn't even put my arms down. I kept my arms above my head just uncontrollably. Everywhere I went, my arm was above my head. It got to the point to where, I couldn't even keep tears out of my face. It took us about 16 hours to drive home, which was about a 5-hour drive, obviously. I guess y'all aren't from here, but it's just about a 5-hour drive to the beach. I just had to stop that many times. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't stand. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. My wife, she's a nurse. She treated me for pull muscle, because that's what they was going to do anyway if we went to the doctor. So she said, might as well go ahead and just knock that out. And I was going to try to wait till Monday so I can go see my primary doctor. But I ended up not being able to wait till Monday. I ended up having to go to the emergency room on Sunday, which was the 6th. They treated me for pulled muscle, shingles.
Do you have shingles?
Not that I know of. But I was in a lot of pain, and the doctor seen that. So I guess he was just doing, whatever he could try to get me out of pain. And he told me if I still was in the same position Thursday, that was Sunday. So Thursday, 5 days, come back and see him. He'll send me for an MRI. I waited to the following Monday, went back and had my people send me for an MRI, which I got those results a week and a half after that, for some reason. But turns out I had some stuff going on with my discs, my C5 and between my C5 and 6, or C6 and C7. I had a disc going sideways or something. So I took the scans. They sent me to a specialist. I went to 3 different specialists before I found one that I liked. They all said the same thing. I like some of them carried themselves better than others. So I picked one, went with him, had ACDF surgery, which is anterior cervical dissection fusion or dissectomy fusion, where they graft a bone and they pull the the disc out, they graft the bone, they put it in its spot, they take a titanium plate, 2 titanium screws, and they screw the plate, and they fuse it to the vertebrae. It's basically fusing the 2 vertebrae with a plate, and then it's also so the artificial disc can't slip out. All I heard was you're going to be in so much pain when you wake up, but it's going to be pain that you want. It's going to be different pain, and pain that you're going to love to have. Trust me, because it was 28 days. So 7/1 was my surgery. Symptom onset 6/4, surgery 7/1. I was 214 the day my symptoms started. I was 172 the day I went in my surgery, so not even a month, and I had lost that much weight. But I mean, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I didn't know what was going on. The vaccine never even populated in my mind. Nobody's, for that matter. None of the doctors, none of the questionnaires that I did or anything asked me about vaccination. Ironically, because they usually all do. But anyway, so I woke up from that surgery, and I was crying. They thought I was crying out of happiness. I wasn't. I was crying because it all still hurt. It all still hurt the same way it did. To which they all laughed, because they just thought I was stoned, and rightfully so, because most are. But I mean, that just shows you how much pain I was in. I mean, the second they woke me up, I remember every second of it, because it just hurt so bad. And I did feel that too. I completely different from all the other symptoms that I was feeling at the time. So I felt what he was talking about, and over the next 8 weeks, I actually felt it get strong. I felt it it felt solid. Still feels solid. Feels great. Like I mean, I don't know if that was ever an actual issue, or if that was a symptom of what the vaccine's doing to my body, or I don't know what but it feels okay. The only thing now is I can't really turn my head too much because the metal, it chokes me, cuts my airways off, and starts poking into other parts of my throat, and then I start getting weird, feeling like, man, it's gonna get caught on something one day and I'm gonna rip my throat open. Or anyway, that's just me being dumb, though.
No, it's not being dumb. That's valid.
I mean, surely that wouldn't ever happen. I'm afraid to even look that up. But anyway, so the whole time I'm telling him, he's seeing me for 8 weeks, going back to the surgeon for 8 weeks through PT. The whole time I'm telling him, yeah, it feels great. He's taking x-rays of it. It looks great. But I'm ending it with, look, I still feel what I come here for. It all still hurts like it did. It may have went down a pain level, maybe 2, but it's still above a 7, and I don't know what to do. Well, just let's get through these 8 weeks, and if it's still there, we'll figure it out. But you gotta heal from this first before. And I'm like, okay, that's valid. I get it. I just want to know that I just need to know we got a plan. So that was at like week 5. Week 8 got there. It was all done. He processed me out the door. I told him, it all still hurts. And he told me that I had to go back to my primary and start it all over and get more MRIs and get referred, which was nothing anybody ever told me, or he or whatever, but whatever. So I did that. Back to the original nurse practitioner that I seen, with my arms out, crying, still ain't sleeping, still ain't eating, still don't know what's going on, still hadn't even thought about the vaccine. Got to the point to where it was towards the end of the year, maybe ending in the year, and the schools around here let the kids have vaccines. It was like, because first it was elderly, and then it was, or frontline, or I guess then elderly, so we was at the partition where it was time for high schoolers to get it, and my oldest daughter, 17 at the time, she comes. We didn't even get home from CVS. Again, I'm not thinking nothing about the first shot. We get home from CVS. 2 minutes after the shot, and her whole face freezes up. To this day, she's missing about 2%, which is great that it's only 2%, because for months she couldn't move half her face. Like she can, everything, it was the craziest thing. Everything operates perfectly on one side, but then it's just like the other side is just not operating. It's, you know, and so you got a 17-year-old in high school dealing, you know, imagine how that, but that clicked in my head. That's when the light bulb went off. Oh crap, what did I do to us? Because that's when I started actually researching into it, which was probably the worst thing I could have done. Hindsight, because it's got me to the point to where now you can't even convince me we've went to the moon. Like, that's how bad it's got, you know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy that all this stuff is different, but it's all connected. If you follow it back far enough, it's all connected. Which is just insane in itself, which I guess is how they get all this stuff to work the way it does, because it sounds insane, unbelievable.
How is your health today?
I'm about 40%. I don't exercise, can't exercise, which before that, I mean, up until COVID, I played adult baseball still. I mean, here in Birmingham, I played for an adult baseball league still. I mean, I did half marathons. I did 5Ks, 10Ks. I competed in the Spartan military races every 2015, 16, 17, and 18. To nothing, you know, to now, like, I have to talk slower because I get winded. Thank goodness it hadn't happened yet since I've been here, but you know, I would imagine that at some point in this interview there's going to be a time where in mid-sentence, I don't even remember where I'm at, hardly, like, can't think about what I was saying. Then it gets to the point to where I can't even remember what I was trying to remember to what I was trying to, you know, then it's just like, eventually you learn to get away from all that stuff. So as soon as it happens, you try to get yourself to center, and you forget about it like it never happened. You know what I mean? Just come back to it later. You try to train yourself that way, because if you dwell on it, that's when things get dark. Headaches, got a lot of eye issues. Like right now, it's really blurry out of this one. But which is crazy, I got better in 20/20 vision. I go to my ophthalmologist, and she's like, I don't know what you got going on, because your eyesight's great. And it blew my wife's mind too, because she thought I needed glasses. She swore up and down I needed glasses. And again, people think I'm crazy, but I can feel this stuff in my body. And I can feel like if I needed glasses, it would be a constant. Right? It'd be constantly I need glasses. I mean, that's the way I've always known people to be. You don't wake up one day you need them, and then the next day you don't. You know what I mean? And that's the way it was. Like one day I can't hardly see, then the next day I'm fine. Then it's one eye and not the other. Then it's reversed. Then it's both. You know, and there's no rhyme or reason. There's no chart. You should see my office, just like a crazy person, just because I've charted everything, trying to find commonalities between anything, and I got to the point to where I started doing a lot of Reiki training, learning, trying to get a certificate, and to be able to, you know, hone, you know, keep myself where I need to be mentally, physically, and the ones around me, my family. Between that, I do breathing exercises. I sit in the dark a lot, like pitch black dark. I try to do cold plunges. That helps with the inflammation. I've for about 8 months, I did blood sugar testing after everything that I ate, and then I charted that, so I knew what I could eat, what I couldn't eat. Even if I could eat a little bit of this, how much. I tried, as long as I keep my blood sugars below 120, my optimum level is around 80 to 90. I try to keep it around there. That's when I feel my best. But it equates you in not eating or researching a lot of ways to try to eat healthier. So I've gotten into where I've started growing my own food, fruit, vegetables. I eat a lot of potatoes, which is, you know, you would think.
The potatoes supposed to be good for you then?
Yeah, but you know, you would think it would be starchy because that's all you heard. You know, oh, they're starchy. Yeah, they're good for you, but moderation. But heck, it seems like I eat an apple and a large loaded baked potato every day. And as far as the way my body feels, my body's never felt better as far as the inflammation. You know, there's very little inflammation. It feels like it keeps everything tight. My skin tight, everything's just tight. My vein, you know, I feel solid. But then, you know, then you have the symptoms that come along, and again, they're completely different from everything else. Like I can feel it. I can show you medical documentation where I'm standing in front of one of my nurse practitioners, and I'm like, look, I can trace it for you as it's going. Something is in my body, and I feel it moving through my body, and I don't know. Like I can literally feel it going through my blood vessels. Like, and it could just be clotting factors, but there is something that wasn't happening 5 minutes ago. Now it is. It's different, and I can feel it. You know, before all this stuff happened, I couldn't. The only way I could tell I ate too many carbs is by my wedding ring. I wouldn't be able to pull it off. That would be my indicator back then. But now I've gotten really in tune with my body, and like I can even tell, you know, when something is about to happen. And you know, my wife knows if she sees me just dart out of the room and go to my office where I keep everything dark, you know, she knows what's going on.
Well, thank you for telling your story, and thank you for telling it so clearly and well. I'm really sorry this happened to you and your daughter. Maybe have you gone into all the vaccines now?
I have. So I actually created, going through the VAERS. I don't know if y'all, but so they was talking about the VAERS stuff out there. So that's one of the first places I went is researching that, and you know, that's a horrible system. So I took a little while and figured out how to work that system, and I ended up creating a couple websites, VAERS websites. Because even if you learn how to do it, it's still not great. So I do API calls, get requests through URL, backend channels.
What's the website called?
You got how's my batch, or how's my batch, how bad is my batch, match my batch, and then we got one that openvaers.com, but that one is not mine. That one is Liz's, I believe.
Well, thank you for doing those. It's really important. Really important.
Yes, ma'am.
And for telling your story, and I hope you get better soon.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like before I come here, like I have heart episodes all the time, where it just feels like my breath is being stolen from me. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like but you feel it in your heart though, but it takes your breath. And maybe like what a palpitation feels like when I hear somebody, because I read all that stuff, and it feels like what they describe. That I don't know, but I've had heart tests done. I wore a thing for like 10 days. I had 463 instances, and I charted every one of them, but they said my heart was fine. So
all right, well, onwards. Thank you for telling your story.